Welcome back to Movie Mogul 101. I'm your host, Walt Whitmore, and I thank you. I thank you for joining us for episode 3. Episode 1, episode 2 went over well. And I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for leaving comments. Some of you even went ahead and subscribed to the channel. Yes, subscriptions are important. However, what really matters is that you're here. You're here with me along on this journey, and trust me, it is inspiring. So thank you so much. Episode 2. We ended episode 2 talking about the iconic end of the movie Cooley High. Now, I have to talk about Cooley High and close this thing out before I can actually get to the chance meeting that I had with none other than Jackie Taylor the spring of 2025. Well, we're at the grave of Cochise, and Eric Monty, a.k.a. Preacher, he pours out libations to that of his friend. He turns, slings the backpack over his shoulder, walks away from the gravesite, then he breaks into a full sprint, leaving us, the audience, to believe that this is the end of the film. And yes, it is. But this is actually the beginning of the story. You see, Cooley High was based upon the life of Eric Monty. In 1960, when Eric Monty was 16, 17 years old, in the 11th grade, his best friend was killed because of street violence. Eric Monty drops out of school, joins the U.S. military. After being discharged after a few years from that of the U.S. Army, he finds himself hitchhiking across the country, and he ends up where? Hollywood, California. Just like he told his best friend graveside, Cochise, I'm going to become a writer. I'm going to Hollywood. Well, he ends up in Hollywood. He's living on the street. He's hustling. He's doing what he needs to do to survive and whatnot. Well, he finds himself in that of a community college writing class, because he's going to hone his skills as a writer. That's where he meets none other than who? Michael Evans. You remember Michael Evans. Michael Evans was the first Lionel in the Jeffersons. He was actually Lionel as well in All of the Family, because remember, the Jeffersons spun off from that of All in the Family. Well, it becomes obvious to Michael Evans that Eric Monty, this guy, he's got talent, right? So he introduces him to none other than Norman Lear. Norman Lear, the producer of Jeffersons, All in the Family, Good Time, Maude, Sanford and Son, and on and on and on. Well, they begin to collaborate, Michael Evans and Eric Monty, and they co-create Good Times. That's right. So Eric Monty is a staff writer on the set of Good Time. Well, they've got some controversy going on and some things behind the scene. Eric continues to write. One particular day, he attends a screening for the movie, The Education of Sonny Carson. Well, one of the white producers there says, this movie, The Education of Sonny Carson, really depicts black life. Eric Monty disagrees. No, it doesn't. My life wasn't full of gang violence, and I grew up in the hood. We had love, we had fun, we had adventure. So he tells his story, his real story. And then that becomes Cooley High. Well, off of a preliminary script that he writes, the project is greenlighted by the studio. That's when they bring in Michael Schultz as the director. Michael and Eric get together, and Michael Schultz helps him refine and hone that preliminary script to the script that we enjoy now that became Cooley High. So now, they're in the city of Chicago. Michael Schultz, because the whole thing was shot in Chicago, Michael Schultz is scoping out the scene. He's looking for shots. He actually has auditions going on for local actors and extras. And he confides in a business person that he happens to be driving through the community with that he's not satisfied with some of the actors in Hollywood that they're sending him. I mean, they sent Lawrence Hilton Jacob, which was established. He played Cochise. They sent as well Glenn Turman, who was that of Preacher. But he wasn't satisfied with the hoodlums that they were sending from Hollywood. That's when, driving through the neighborhood, this business person says, whoa, there you go. Those two guys right there, those are your street hoods. Well, it's none other than Rick Stone and Norman Gibson. Yeah, they're the real deal. Gang members, stick-up men, thug animals. Well, Michael Schultz there in his limousine, so he stops the limousine. He pops up out of the sunroof, signals to Rick and Norman, hey, you guys want to star in a movie? And Rick and Norman, they look at each other like, yeah. Because they figure, if this thing doesn't work out, they can always rob the joint. Because, again, they're the real deal. Well, when Rick Stone returns home and he lives in the Cabrini Greens housing project. Now, you know the Cabrini Green. The opening of Good Time, when they show that housing project, that's the Cabrini Greens. He confides in his childhood friend, Jackie Taylor, who happens to be active in the theater scene. And she says, yes, this is a legitimate opportunity. They are shooting a film. So Rick Stone, Norman Gibson, they end up getting cast as the notorious Stone and Roberts that end up killing Cochise. Jackie Taylor as well, she's cast in the movie as Johnny May. Johnny May's the girlfriend of Cochise. You see, Cooley High was truly authentic. So after the success of the movie, and we know how successful it was, $13 million that it made, and when you compare that to The Education of Sonny Carson, the film that the white producer thought was authentic black life, they only made $1 million. Anyway, Jackie Taylor goes on to be featured in movies in Hollywood, Barbershop 2, Hoodlum, Chirac, some other stuff. But her heart remains in Chicago. Her heart remains in the theater. In 1976, just 1 year after the debut of Cooley High, Jackie Taylor opens the Black Ensemble Theater. 50 years later, they sit in a $20 million facility. They have produced several hundred productions that have come out of the Black Ensemble Theater, not to mention the local actors and people that they've nurtured along the way in terms of being in the business. Right now, they have plans for an almost $100 million facility that will encompass the entire block, a revitalization point for that community. That's right. And right now, the Black Ensemble Theater sits not far from where the Cabrini Housing Project used to be. Jackie Taylor is certainly doing the thing. So fast forward to that of the spring of 2025. We're in Chicago. Myself, my daughter, and her girlfriend. They're high school student filmmakers. We're doing college tours. And actually, at that point, we'd probably been to Chicago 3 or 4 times. Well, we're sitting in on the screening of the movie Bonhoeffer. And after the screening, there's a lecture led by none other than Todd Kormanicki, who is the producer, writer, director of Bonhoeffer. After the movie screening and the lecture, we go up, and Todd not only takes a pic with my daughter and her girlfriend, he begins to drop nuggets in terms of preparing for that of being a screenwriter and a director. I mean, really dropping some real gems on these girls as it relates to, the industry. And obviously, I'm sitting up here, I'm taking notes too, because, I'm a writer. I'm an aspiring filmmaker. Well, if you're not familiar with Todd Kormanicki, His work spans, tone and genre, the moral pressure, that's in that of the movie Sully, and, that cultural touchstone, Elf, that Christmas, that Christmas piece, and the conviction-driven story that, we watched that night with Bonhoeffer, and of course, that studio comedy, featuring Eddie Murphy, Meet Dave. He's done all of that. He is a working artist. The very next day, again, we're in the Chicago area. So we're headed downtown. We're going to do some shopping. And it's like, man, I'm sitting here in Chicago. I've been here several times. I've wanted to get by the Black Ensemble Theater. We're going by the Black Ensemble Theater. Now, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a weekday. I don't expect this place to be open. I'm just going to go down there, take a selfie in front of the building, that kind of thing. So I park, get out the car. My daughter and her girlfriend, they stay in the car, right? Because, they don't know anything about Cooley High. I mean, they don't know Cooley High from that of Captain Kangaroo. Yeah, remember, I'm old school, right? Anyway, I walk up to the door, pull on it, it's open. So I walk inside, and who do I see standing on the other side of the reception desk? Miss Taylor? And she turns and says, yes, I'm Miss Taylor. Oh my God. It was sort of like young LeBron meeting Jordan for the first time. I was blown back. So it's like, hey, my daughter's there in the car, they're filmmakers and whatnot. You got a moment? So she says, yeah, sure. So I run back to the car. I grab my daughter and her girlfriend. And Jackie's just so gracious. I mean, she talks to these girls, not like they're fans, but, she really imparts wisdom. She talks to them like they're aspiring screenwriters, inspiring directors, producers. And of course, I'm paying attention too. I'm taking notes. She gives us a real brief tour of the facility, and then she pulls in one of her employees who's also part of her acting troupe, and he gives us the full tour of the $20 million facility. Fills in the blanks as it relates to the history, the building of the location, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, wow, she's really doing the thing as it relates to Chicago and the theater scene. I was truly inspired. That moment meant a whole lot for me. Jackie Taylor is not just changing a neighborhood and the culture in that of Chicago. She's also changed lives. Let's go back to that of Rick Stone, a.k.a. Stone of Stone and Roberts. He was a street thug, a hoodlum. Well, after the success of the movie, Norman Gibson, they had plans. Norman and Stone, they were going to go on tour, and they were booked for the Merv Griffin show. But before that could happen, Norman Gibson is killed in a dice game. And Rick makes some bad choices, and he ends up being arrested and convicted for armed robbery. And he ends up doing about 8 years in Joliet. Well, after he's released, who reaches out to him? His childhood and now lifelong friend, Jackie Taylor. He takes a job over there at the Black Ensemble Theater as a janitor, but it doesn't stop there. Remember, he has skills. He was in Cooley High. He ends up honing his skills, and he becomes a working actor. 25 years of experience in terms of acting out plays that have been written and directed and created by Jackie Taylor there in the Black Ensemble Theater and throughout the Chicago Theater District. Even so, he starred in the self-titled play Rick Stone, the Blues Man. So Jackie Taylor has not only changed the neighborhood, She's changed individual lives. And one of those individual lives is mine. 2 days in Chicago, 2 mentors. One, a working director, producer. The other, a living legend, changing lives every day. Those 2 days really brought something home for me. Storytelling isn't something that I picked up late in life. Storytelling is something that I've been walking towards my entire life. Thank you, Jackie Taylor. Well, that puts an end to Cooley High. That closes the chapter. Next episode, we stop looking backwards and we are moving forward. I'm going to begin on the crafting of the trailer teaser for Without Prejudice. You know, my serialized, binge-worthy prestige crime drama Without Prejudice. So we're going to begin on that episode 4. I thank you for participating. I thank you for your support. Movie Mogul 101.